Okay, buckle up, everyone, because we are talking about wine and boobs today. So we'll see where this one goes. It's time for our Q&A, our daily Q&A, and I have questions about these two topics. And these are actually questions I get frequently about alcohol consumption and about breast implants. So we're going to answer two specific questions that I just received in the last day or two. Um, Oh, before we dive in, hi there, I'm Elizabeth from Happy, Healthy, and Hot, 59-year-old double certified health and weight loss coach, author, content creator, and three-time finalist of the Maximum Cover Girl competition because women of all ages deserve to be seen, heard, and admired. You can love your body and your life at any age. I'm 59, 5 years post-menopause, and I'm just getting started. So now we can dive into these questions. So Steph asked about wine. Steph is 57. She's in good shape, but she feels like she's drinking too much wine while cooking. What are my views? She'd love to cut back. And Becky said, Your boob job looks like exactly what I'm looking for. She's been researching, considering a breast augmentation. So we're going to talk about that also because I had mine done a long time ago. But I'm always happy to share my thoughts on the whole process. Um, so let's dive into the wine first. So, Steph, first of all, I commend you for your self-awareness for saying, hey, I think I'd like to cut back. And I will absolutely going to share my thoughts. This is just free form, no, no real outline here, but I'll share certainly what I've done because I really rarely drink wine anymore. Um, but I do enjoy some alcohol. But my thoughts on wine, alcohol, weight loss, aging, all of the things. So I commend you for having this self-awareness and for saying, hey, even though I'm in good shape, I feel like maybe I'd like to cut back. Um, and so wine, like alcohol in general, we're better off not drinking it. Yet I do with intention, and I absolutely cut it out for a while intentionally, and then was able to. And it's not that I even felt like I was having a problem, but I felt like wine was affecting me in a certain way, and I cut it out to be aware, and then brought it back and was like, yeah, it is. It does affect me this way. However, I can enjoy some other things responsibly. So alcohol is a toxin, and our bodies are always going to need to process that first before anything else. So we've already got, we know our macros. We've got fat has 9 calories per gram. We absolutely need fat for glowing skin, brain health, all of these things. It keeps us satiated, skin glowing. Protein and carbohydrates each have 4 grams, 4 calories per gram. Some say protein works out to more like 3 because of the thermal effect, but that's neither here nor there. Um, and then alcohol has 7 calories per gram. We're always going to need to burn that first. So right away, alcohol consumption of any kind absolutely does interfere with fat burning. That's not to say you can't have some alcohol and lose weight, but it's definitely something to be aware of. Also, alcohol consumption in general can lead to poor choices with food, sometimes with life, depending on what you're drinking, and lead to maybe feeling sluggish the next day, which certainly was the fact for me with wine. Wine in particular. Wine now, Steph, I think you might be from Australia, but wine sold in the US is loaded, most of it is loaded with crap. I'm just going to come right out and say that. There are over 70 additives that are legal to be added to our wine and do not need to be disclosed in the label. To me, that's not okay. Um, but those additives include like sweetening agents, flavoring agents, coloring agents, all kinds of things. So, in addition to the effects of alcohol, these additives can be affecting you as well. So, that is something to keep in mind. So wine, here's what I was finding personally for myself with wine. Even really high quality organic wine from Europe, all the things I was really sourcing carefully whenever possible, was making me tired really easily, like a just all of a sudden, like I like felt like I needed to go to sleep. But of course, you don't sleep that well at night. Um, and I was finding it was just keeping me, I had the self-awareness in 2023 that wine was kind of keeping me in a lower emotional state. So I made a decision to, I was going to just stop alcohol through the end of 2023. I ended up doing a 9-month experiment. And when I did bring it back, decided that wine is just not my thing anymore. Other than I will occasionally have Prosecco, celebrating something. When I was in Paris, absolutely, did I have a champagne in Paris? You better believe it. You better believe I had champagne at Chanel. I had champagne with French fries. The French fries in Paris were unbelievable. Yes, in Italy, did I have Prosecco? You better believe it. So I enjoy, but as a rule, like day to day, I no longer drink wine because I just don't like the way it makes me feel. Also, I just started seeing this mommy wine culture, which I mean, I'm no longer in like these mommy groups, but where wine was just a little too free flowing. And once you open up the bottle, I mean, and I used to do this, it's so easy to top people off. And wine, just an 8-ounce pour of wine is going to have at least 200 calories. Nobody's drinking just one glass. So it's just also a lot of liquid. If it were nothing else, it's a lot of liquid calories. So Steph, back to Steph, who would like to cut back. I have some suggestions and play around with what works for you. So for me, I'm really glad I just cut it out entirely for a while. And I stopped that, it stopped the chatter in my head about should I have a drink or not. I realized there was chatter in my head. When there's chatter in your head from food or alcohol, that's not good. So, and just increasing quality protein and quality fat can help stop the chatter of a lot of things. But for me, I just decided to cut out alcohol entirely for 9 months. Again, that was my choice. And again, then I brought it back, no longer drink the wine. I absolutely do enjoy some intentional cocktails. I do my CoverGirl cocktail. It's vodka, soda, splash cranberry. Um, Lower in calories, less effect on me, like the way I feel the next day, like pretty much no effect if I just have, one or two, which is all I should have. Um, but you don't need to cut it out entirely. Steph, I would look at some different options, play around, see what works for you. One is measuring and saying I'm having, one glass, one 8-ounce glass or whatever. One is cutting back by, another would be turning them into spritzers just to dilute, um, limiting it to certain evenings, replacing with some great replacements I found are kombucha gives me that kind of, it tastes, I mean, there's, I guess, minute traces of alcohol in kombucha. But it has that depth of flavor. I've tried non-alcoholic wines. They just tasted like fruit juice to me. I was like, there's no point in this. But like kombucha, when you're looking for that depth of flavor is really nice. And of course, it is much lower in calories. And just, I'll pour it in a wine glass. I like the ginger. You still want to check the sugar content. Some are higher than others. I like these, excuse me, excuse my boobs, which we'll be talking about next. I like these recess. First of all, I took this out of the fridge, so now it's all sweaty, but it's a magnesium and adaptogen infused sparkling water. So it's not sweet like a soda. They're about 20 calories, but excuse me now, the hiccups. They have really interesting flavors that have some depth to them, not overly sweet. So something like that, or kombucha, something that maybe gives you that depth of flavor. So there's a lot of different things you could do. Um, but I agree, it's really easy to drink wine while you're cooking. It's like once you open up that bottle and you get started, it's really easy to keep going. And that's why I decided to, for the most part, cut out wine. And so I do still have some at my house because I used to be in this organic wine club, which was amazing. Like, look at that cute little bottle. So I'm not saying I'll never have this, maybe open it up if I have somebody over, but it's not a regular part of my life anymore. And I will say that my life is better for wine not being a regular part of it and still allowing room for the occasional celebratory glass of Prosecco. I have a small bottle, not a split, but not a regular size bottle, chilling in my fridge right now. Well, just in my fridge right now, that will be popped on a certain, it's being saved for something and will absolutely be popped to celebrate. Stay tuned. So those are my thoughts on wine. I get it, but I do, it's something I get a lot of questions on. What are your thoughts on alcohol? What are your thoughts on wine? Those are my thoughts. Um, like anything, there's not just one way to do it. Just like when I'm saying prioritize protein and produce, get your steps in. That's going to look different for different people, but it's a helpful guideline. Um, and I would never tell you to cut something. Like I have chosen to not consume grains at all because that is how I feel best. That's what's best for my body. But I wouldn't tell you to never have grains, but I will tell you they can be inflammatory. So, you know, it's always, to me, it's always let's fill ourselves up with the good stuff, our minds, our bodies, everything. Start there. And then there's just less room for crap. So hopefully that helps, Steph. I realize I'm kind of all over the place with this, but there's a lot of different directions that we can take here. Okay, next question from Becky said, your boob job looks like exactly what I'm after. Well, thank you. And it's so interesting because again, this just goes to show you there's so many points of view. I've had people tell me that this is the worst boob job they've ever seen. I get comments like that regularly. I also regularly receive comments from women like Becky who say, like, hey, could you tell me exactly what you had done? Because that's exactly the look I'm after. So thank you. I will tell you exactly what I had done to the best of my knowledge because it's been a while. But just like I'm happy to share what I'm eating, what I had done isn't necessarily what's best for you. And first of all, there's more options out there now. So I chose to have breast implants because I had a lot of sagging after pregnancy and breastfeeding. And I realized that this was something that I couldn't correct with diet and exercise. So I got my abs back with, you know, nutrition and fitness. Um, Improved my ass with nutrition and fitness, all these things. But I couldn't get, get my boobs less saggy. So they were saggy, they were stretched out. I was always relatively well endowed. Um, but after two pregnancies, sagging and no longer well endowed was not a good combo for me. So I had at first been thinking about getting a lift, but after consultations, found out the scarring from the lift was just not acceptable to me. And then my surgeon, the surgeon that I consulted with, explained to me that I could do implants. This would actually be less invasive of a surgery. And because he was talking about a lift and implants to get some of the volume back, less invasive of a surgery, it would give me the effect that I was after, which was being lifted back up and just get the roundness and fullness back. So my implants are under the muscle. The incision is like here. My incisions they healed perfectly and they're actually invisible now but even right afterwards, never looked bad. I followed my surgeon's recommendations to the letter about everything. Slept propped up, like was not great sleep. All the ice, like everything they told me to do, the massage to keep scar tissue from forming. I did everything. My implants are saline filled because silicone filled implants were off the market at that time. And they are considered a high profile implant. Now, I understand now there are so many different types of implants, options, all of those things than were even available when I had it done. Um, but the other thing to say is even if you could do exactly what I did, so much this depends on our own, like our body type, all the, our frame, all of these different things. So what I would recommend to you, Becky, is to um, show your surgeon pictures of what you like and what you don't like, which is exactly what I did. I was like, this is, I don't like this for this reason. I like this. ultimately my boob model, so to speak, was Carmen Electra. So I was like, I want her boobs, but that was kind of what that was the look that I was after. And to this day, zero regrets, despite all of the hate that I get for them. So a lot of people, but some other things that I want to say about cosmetic surgery or any major change like this is it's not going to change your life. You need to change your life. So, I think if somebody approaches a cosmetic surgery as well, my life is going to be better once I do this. Like this will just change everything. It's not going to. I approach this as I'm working on everything, and this is a transformation that I can't do um, with my fitness and nutrition. And it's something that I'm thinking about every day. I'm very aware of. Yes, you can get push-up bras and all of those things, but I was aware of this, and it was, I won't say it was ruining my life. It certainly wasn't, but I was aware of this and I was thinking about it. And so I decided to do it. But like, it's not going to change your life. Like, we're responsible for changing our lives. Just like the job, the man, the money, whatever isn't going to change your life. You need to change your life. And if something in your life is not good and you think, oh, if I just got out of this soul sucking job, or if I just got out of this horrible relationship, everything's going to be better. But at the end of the day, we need to change who we are, or we're going to keep falling into the same patterns. So I did, and you weren't expecting this when you asked about my boobs, but here we go. So um, when I told a friend, a family friend who was a surgeon, not a cosmetic surgeon, about this, he said, well, just be prepared. Like, this is the first of many surgeries because you're going to do this and you're going to want to fix other things. And I was like, there's nothing else I want to fix. I love myself. And I didn't have the self-love and the confidence back then that I have now. But I was like, I don't think I'm going to want to fix anything else with surgery. And I never did. I never did. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do any other cosmetic surgery. But I'm saying it wasn't that I went down this rabbit hole. I just said, here's a thing that I can't correct the way I want to correct it on my own. So I'm going to get some help. So, and I did, and I'm very pleased. Um, and I get so many comments. There was a few years ago, every other comment was like fake boobs, fake boobs, fake boobs. Or people would say to me, how can you be a health coach and have breast implants? And I was like, who cares? So it's one of those things that I've always been super open about. The other thing I would tell you, Becky, is be prepared. Um, Not everyone's going to like it, including your friends. And I remember I was nowhere along the journey of like where I am now in the area of self-worth and not caring what people think. Back then I cared a lot about what people thought. Um, and it did get back to me that a close friend, was someone that I considered a close friend, was really pretty critical of this behind my back. And you know, I thought, well, interesting. Maybe not the friend I thought she was, but I also didn't let that get me down or bother me. I was like, hey, not everyone has to approve of this. I'm the one that has to approve of it. So I just say be prepared. Not everyone's going to like it, and that's on them. It's not on you. So this is a little different Q&A. But these were two things that come up a lot. And I've addressed certainly in the past. I get the alcohol question a lot, but I just thought let's dive into this stuff. So thanks for being here. Drop any questions in the comments. If you like my content here on YouTube, I would be so, so, so honored if you would subscribe. That way you'll get notified when I post. But it's also showing YouTube that this content is relevant, not just boobs and wine, but all the stuff that I talk about, ways that you can love your body and your life at any age. So have an amazing day. Oh, and I'll drop some links in the caption. And thank you so much for being here.